It's a pleasure as always to join you in your living room or on social media to discuss some issues facing our nation, what is happening from government, and how we all can get involved and be part of Guyana's development happening today at a rapid pace. You know, this last week, the Minister of Local Government did announce local elections for June 12th. And that's a very important election for those who live in local government areas in terms of like Georgetown, Linden, Bartica, the NDCs. I want you to really pay attention, especially, let me start with Georgetown. If you see, from 2015 to 2020, the PNC had a central government. Nothing was done to the city. The PNC has led Georgetown as far as I could remember, right? And that's a long time. What have they done to the city? When last has your trash been picked up? If you see what central government and the president had to step in just to get our city to look presentable over the last few years, from the seawall area to the Lemaha to the public works division, doing multiple roads that the city is supposed to maintain. So when you go to the polls on June 12th, and you sit there, or you stand there, you shouldn't really have to think. What if you decide to give the People's Progressive Party one shot at running Georgetown, or running Linden, or Bartica? Imagine, just give it one shot. It's not that you don't have anything to compare it to. Central government working with a PPP-led city will do things much faster. If we have to keep getting blocked in programs where the mayor and the town council has no new ideas how to manage their own accounts, right? In the old days, you used to be lucky if your carpets were weeded. Now we have to do that ourselves in these cities. So on June 12th, I want you to really think between now and June 12th, what has the PNC done for Georgetown, for Linden, Bartica, and I can name all of them? What have they done for this city? What promises have they made? Do you ever see them even out there delivering on, do they have a manifesto of what they would have done in the last few years since local government elections? So this time around, concentrate at the rapid pace of Guyana's development. If I live in Georgetown, I can tell you, if it wasn't for the PPP government taking control of many parts of the city to beautify it, to ensure that upgrades are being done, we would have been embarrassed. This last week, we had the energy conference, well attended, over 1,200 attendees. Thousands from overseas came into our country, could have walked down Main Street and see the lights and see the activity budding for Mashimani and the Republic Day on Thursday, February 23rd, a special day in Guyana's history. And with the energy conference, Dr. Ali, our president, spoke about the transformation that is happening in Guyana. He had other leaders that came and joined him from Trinidad, and the former president of Colombia was in awe at the development he has seen happening in Guyana. And I want us to really think through, the opposition leader, and I've been told I shouldn't call him any names, and I just would say he talks nonsense, would not call him a name. But, he stood up, he actually came to the president's presentation. I was surprised, sat there, with all kind of twerks on his face. He's a man that does nothing, basically. Is starting to promise, if you remember Granger in 2015 to 2020, all the things they promised, the good life, the good life, the good life. and they delivered nothing. They were very discriminatory to our people. The 7,000 sugar workers, the 2,000 Amerindians, they were a discriminatory government. Did not take care of you and I, you and us. But now you've got Norton going out and saying the same things. He talks about a good life. He wants to promise, give away money of the oil, give away, massive salary increases like they did for themselves in 2015 when they gave themselves 50%. He doesn't understand economics, you can tell, because we're in the early days of the oil production, which is now in the third year. The funds are now starting to increase, and it will increase dramatically over the next few years as the production cycle goes up. But as a developing country, we all grew up with hope that Guyana could be what we thought it could be. But in fact, we had good industries, bauxite, sugar, rice. We saw what happened to bauxite over the decades when the former PNC dictators, nationalized the bauxite industry. It started to tank the economy. In our debt ratio in 1992 to GDP was 600%. Today, Dr. Ashney Singh last week announced we were at 24% to GDP in our debt. And so what has happened is that the economy and the financing over the next few years, where would you spend that money? Right? And Dr. Ali has outlined the vision and the plan for our country. Somebody said, well, why don't I get the money now? Well, if you got the money now and a road, thousands of roads are being redone right now across Guyana. Thousands of roads are being done. So if you had the money and there was no road being built, would you want that? If your child gets sick, would you not want the new maternal hospital and pediatric hospital being built? Would you want a better hospital in your region? Or some of the new 6 hospitals are being built in new areas across the country? Wouldn't you want government to invest that money in education, ensure schools are rebuilt, whoever's burning them down, ensure that we are able to give scholarships, 20,000 gold scholarships across the country, 150,000 young children will learn coding? Would you want that money so that Guyana now have that ability to move to the next level? Norton said, give it away. Where would you spend it? Right? If we didn't buffer the gasoline prices by reducing all taxes, freight charges, imagine what our cost of living would have looked like today. Suriname is in trouble because their cost of living is significant. They don't have the financing to help buffer those prices. We are able then to invest money in areas where we can help keep the cost of living down. All over the world, freight costs have gone up. Fuel prices have gone up. Everything depends on transportation and fuel. So the logistics, the cost of production makes your product, the product we buy in the store, much higher. And that's why, government has take off taxes off electricity, off of water. Did all the 200 taxes that Granger took from you to give you the good life. Now Norton coming back with that same, he wants to give you the good life again. Right? No taxes. One thing that we've got to be proud of, regardless of your political affiliation, listening to this program, imagine one of the largest budgets, or the largest budget in Ghana's history, a budget that put $50 billion back into our pockets, increase in salaries, old age pension, quite a few other programs being upgraded, $50 billion back in our pockets, and one thing that we've got to remember, when you talk to your family overseas, when you look at Suriname issues and the rest of the Caribbean, we have not raised a single tax in this 2023 budget. Actually, healthcare, no corporate tax on healthcare, no corporate tax on education. Threshold has been increased, so you have more money in your disposable money right now in your pocket. So don't let the propagandists, the Nortons of the world, he goes and I had a smile the other day. He had about, a few 10 people, 15 people in front of him, and he looked at them straight in the eye and said that the PPP will be running scared if they saw the numbers that came out to see him. Well, we did run scared. Scared with laughter because he didn't have anybody listening to him. So it all goes back, though. In politics, you have choices. We all have choices. But you base your choices on performance. Performance. Right? So for those PNC supporters out there listening to me, and I know there's no AFC anymore, basically, I'm surprised that Norton is being forced to keep them in Parliament. That's going to be a whole nother issue. But we all have choices. What are those choices? You base it on performance. So when you look back and you did give APNU, PNC, Granger a chance, 2015 to 2020, what did they do for Guyana? Did your lives get better? Did you have a good life? Did you complain about the 200 plus taxes? You did. Did you get your road fixed? No. Did you vote for them in 2015? Yes. 2020 came, and many saw it and decided they don't want PNC anymore. They voted the PPP back in government. And you've seen in the short few years since we took office, look at the transformation happening in Guyana. If you drive to Berbice and you drive, Linden. I was in Linden recently, in Region 10, and a great place, by the way. And those Lindeners is giving us good welcome. We appreciate the fact that they're listening, they're joining in the program to help develop. There's a factory going up right at the junction before you move into Linden, that they're going to be taking scrap metal, steel, making nails, 150 jobs ultimately with that factory already started under construction. We had the call center in Linden that opened 2 years ago. They have over 100 Lindeners working. We're looking at, the roads being upgraded. The road from Linden to Mabura, 121 kilometers, being paved right now. 32 bridges across the region going into Region 9 from Region 10 happening. Work for construction workers, for aggregate, barges, truckers, all happening under Dr. Ali's watch with the transformation agenda. So you get to see real time how we are doing in managing our taxpayers' money, managing the oil money. What are we doing with it? How are we helping your life get better? And we all will complain, no matter if I give you $50,000 today as a handout. Tomorrow, you're back. You want another set of money. So we will never always be happy, and that's human nature, especially us. But you have to then sit back in your living rooms tonight, listening and studying what is happening in Guyana. In every program, I always remind you, where do you fit? Follow the money. Listen to the budget. When we all start to move ahead of, we see these programs happening in our village or our town, roads being built. Start thinking. When you saw Dr. Ali announcing the oil refinery that's going to happen in Berbice, 30,000 barrels a day, private sector run, developed and run. What would that do for us? Would that bring our gas prices down? Absolutely. You don't have to ship in the heavy fuel anymore, pay the logistics and the freight charges. But what is the cost of doing nothing? Norton doesn't want the gas to shore. What is the cost of doing nothing? Let me remind you, Granger turned away the Amalia Falls project when they had the one-seat majority in Parliament. The cost of doing nothing. Look at what we are paying today in our electric bill, one of the highest in the region. And Norton, now following in Granger footstep, want to tell Guyanese, we don't need the gas to shore. The cost of doing nothing. Imagine our electricity costs by 2025 will go down by 50%. Look at your bill right now. You have 50% more in your pocket. What would you do with that 50% more just from the electric bill? And with the cost of energy going down, whether it's the refinery, whether it's the gas to shore, you now will have more money to look at your investments. Where would you put that money in investments? And then cost of living will also be affected, most likely down, because you're now producing a cheaper energy. So when you listen to Norton, somebody, I don't know if there was joking, introduce him as president in waiting. What a thought. Putting propaganda out there and, not facilitating development that will help each of us. Now, politics is okay. We all can be politicians how we want to be. But when you put people's life at risk being, these are projects. Amalia Falls should have happened. They stopped it. Now we're putting that back, looking at the opportunities to get a new investor to develop the Amalia Falls project. Our electric bill would have probably been cut in half years ago had that been finished. So the gas to shore must happen. Must happen. When you read the papers and people criticize what is happening, what is the cost of doing nothing? It means you and I will continue to pay higher prices at the pump. We will continue to pay higher prices for food. We will continue to pay higher prices. So no, what our administration and what the president has outlined is a plan, right? A predictable plan that is measured. And that's one of the things the former president of Colombia said at the conference last week. The fact that we have a plan that we're working with, you don't have to guess. An investor coming into Guyana and a local investor going to, invest in a batching plant or a block making machine, block making endeavor, don't have to guess what is happening. With the housing market, you've seen where the housing market is going. Every year we have announced the numbers that houses government is ensuring is built. That's on government side, much as what the private sector is doing. So you don't have to say, well, if I spend $30,000 US on a block making machine, would I make my money back? Absolutely. In the right village, in the right area. You would have listened to Dr. Ashley Singh talked about the development plan, 3 new stadiums, stadium in Berbice, stadium in Linden, all happening. You want to be part of that development. And again, entrepreneurship is not for everyone. But the fact is, you now have a chance to see if you want to be an entrepreneur and get into new business. Or you join forces. I told the folks in Linden last week, we had over, 85 young entrepreneurs, small business owners came listening for information on small business loans, small business grants, how to, we're going to go back and teach them really how to write a business plan, how to build consortiums, how to do joint ventures. And that's what we want to see, the benefits of what the government is doing across the country. So it's very important that you pay attention, get into debates. If you're in Orange Walk tonight and you see Norton, ask him, well, what if the gas to shore is not done? How would we bring electricity costs down by 50%, Mr. Norton? Ask him if he give away the money, increase salaries, how would you get your road built? How would you get new water? How would you get cheaper electricity? Right? How would you live if he gave away all the money? So it's okay to play politics, as I said, but be sensible. Not nonsense, Norton. Be sensible. You should be right now calling Dr. Ali and said, could we do it faster? Could we get gas to shore down faster? Could we help bring the cost of my supporters, his supporters, so their costs can go down? Why would he want his supporters to continue to pay the highest electricity costs in the region? Ask him that on Orange Walk tonight. Somebody. Text me if he give you an answer. So the development areas are happening across Guyana. In the energy conference, one of the good part that came out of that energy conference from my perspective was seeing the interaction, seeing the awe on an investor face when they looked and saw that Guyana is moving at such a rapid pace. We're about to produce more oil. We're about to get another FPSO. One is now being built again. Don't you think over the years, as the oil production goes up, finances will go up? How will we then continue to use future money? And it's not about borrowing all the money today. What if oil prices drop in a year and you went and took out, $1 billion, $2 billion worth of loans, and you can't now pay it back because you're not getting the revenues to pay it back? So it's very important that when we see government, you think of it as your household. You're not going to go waste your money if you're only making a fixed income and you've got to pay your rent to put gas in your car or pay your school fees. You wouldn't overspend that money. You're going to manage it well. And that's one of the best in the region. We've got a president with a vision. We've got a president with a plan. We've got a cabinet that is very, very well versed in their functions. We're now respected in the region. When Guyanese passport now is worth something, that's proud. Let's remember that. We're finally at a stage where we can continue to develop our nation. Passports now, people are begging all over the world. I'm a first generation Guyanese, I want to come home. We don't mind. We'd like the diaspora to come back. And I want to tell the diaspora, those watching from far, Guyana's wealth is yours too. The president says, prosperity for all Guyanese. You're part of it. Don't be left behind. Come home and work with us to develop our nation. The president has outlined his vision as clear as possible. You don't have to guess what is happening tomorrow, what is happening in the future. We know that larger projects are being undertaken. The Demerara Bridge is started. The private shore base at Reedon Hoop is already halfway in terms of the island, completed. Larger ships will be able to come in. Goods should be cheaper in areas. The Deepwater Harbor ultimately in Berbice will be done. Road to Brazil, connection, new sectors. As we develop the back roads going to Diamond, opening new lands. Agriculture is one of the biggest investment you can think of in Guyana today. A lot of us have gotten out of agriculture. President in Bahamas this week met with all the leaders. And one of the things they decided on is to be more aggressive in getting to that 25% by 2025. We need mega farms. None of us may be able to do a mega farm, but imagine 10 of us in Monrepo or Enterprise or Annandale or Buxton coming together, going in the back dam and says, are we going to plant large-scale broccoli? And we know what the demand for broccoli will be when the 7 hotels concurrently being built right now are completed. You know you have a market. Broccoli is all imported. Look at what the hotels import because we don't produce enough of it. And that's where your investment is. Again, you may not be able to do it by yourself, but 10 of you coming together, signing a deal, whoever puts the most money or whoever puts the time and effort, however you cut your deal, work together, build a consortium. Don't be left behind. Not because you can't do it by yourself, you sit home and complain somebody else getting rich. No, it's all our wealth, and that's what the president wants to see. And we will continue to help. I mean, I see the Minister of Agriculture going into Region 10, ensuring that a lot of things that they've asked for is done. And we want to see that region, which is a good agriculture region. It has a lot of good things happening there. I mean, the Vice President announced the $22 million going to the Amerindian villages out of the first payment we got for carbon credits. Imagine Guyana can sell carbon. Nowhere in the world that has ever happened. Not cutting our trees down, gaining the carbon. People say, well, why give it to the Amerindian villages? You know, if the money is spent in Georgetown or in the coastal plains, a road built, we all get to use it. But in the Amerindian villages, there are small villages all over the hinterlands. So you have to design programs specifically for those villages. And it's very important that we take care of our indigenous people. So for those who are complaining, remember that Granger fired 2,000 of them. Putting everybody back to work is very important to this government. There's a lot of part-time jobs out there. We're ensuring, as new companies come in from this investment, there's going to be new jobs available. Be on track to develop yourself, develop your family. Let your kids learn what is happening. If they want to be in engineering and in agriculture, don't, guide them. That where the money is going to be in Guyana in the future. One, in logistics, because we're going to become a transport economics hub with the Deepwater Harbor and the oil and the Brazil connection. We're going to have agriculture, 25% to solve upward of $10 billion worth of food bill in the Caribbean. All is going to happen right in front of our eyes. So as I leave you tonight, where do you fit? Talk to your neighbors. See if you can put a consortium together. See if you can go develop the lands that you saw are behind, that you've been maybe planting a garden. Look at what the country needs. Look at what the Caribbean needs. We're going to be working on logistics to get the food to the food terminal in Barbados that will then be distributed across the region. Don't be left behind. Know where you fit. As you study our president's vision, his plan, his implementation, get some of his passion, get some of his drive, get off and get it, and let's do it together. Thank you and God bless you.
That was a paid program, and the views and opinions expressed are those of the host and other speakers and do not reflect the views and opinions of TVG Channel 28.